Hi everyone, this is Chatting in Cars. My name's Charlotte. We're about to take a 45-minute journey to work where I rant about random shit all fucking morning. So if you're not happy to hear me swearing, I suggest you turn off your radio now. We're about to start driving. You will hear my indicator, which is horrible and I apologize for it. It's not a great noise. But hopefully we can talk about some interesting topics. Right, backing up. Watching out for other cars. Right, so the reason I've actually started this podcast is because I want to understand my brain a bit more, and I'm sure there are some topics where you are wondering whether it makes sense either. Okay? Sorry, I'm just backing out the car park. Quite fun. Now I know I'm going to be irritating, so if you don't want to listen to me, that is absolutely okay. You don't have to. No one has to. And there are going to be times when I'm just going to be plain old pissed off in the morning, which is also fucking fine. Currently on my first day to work, I'm a primary school teacher. You can imagine how pissed off I will be. Yeah. So I teach K through 7, I'm qualified for. Some of the weirdest shit I've ever seen is coming through a classroom, which is great. Gives you a real insight into why you don't want kids. Having said that, I did come from a large family, so, you know. Oh my God. I don't want to go back to work, but then again, who does? Bearing in mind that I am a teacher. But everyone thinks that first day back at work, even after something just like a long weekend or something, you know? Whereas I've just had 2 weeks off, and I know you're jealous, but don't worry about it. It wasn't great. I was working the entire time on side projects and all kinds of horrible things. Which actually is quite nice, because teaching is quite a demanding, horrible, noisy job. And to be able to sit in a room and just not hear anything, except maybe YouTube on the background or, I don't know, put a movie on in the background is quite nice, I thought. Yeah, I got quite a few things done. I was pretty stoked about that. God, I hope I didn't say a lot. So this is going to be unedited, I'm afraid, so you're going to hear a lot of umming and swearing and probably me shouting at people while they're driving and, yeah. But then again, it's only meant to be background noise, and it's only meant to be me clearing out my brain first thing in the morning, which I thought was a bit stupid. Maybe you might find something funny about how mental my brain is, I don't know. Or it could just be background noise for you. I mean, if you're trying to fall asleep, I'm actually quite boring, so you could probably hear my car revving. I've got music in the background. Yeah. This song is, if you're interested, you're probably not, Black Caviar, Killer Funk Shit. I think it's Killer Funk Shit? Killer Shit Funk, my bad. Yeah. So if you're wondering what primary school teachers listen to on the way to work, is this. Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know. There's probably more responsible teachers out there doing, you know, classical music or some shit. I don't know. All I know is that I've got a full day of killing time, essentially. It's got to the point in my career where I'm just fed up of teaching. I've been doing it since 2010. It's 220 now. 12 years of this shit. At first, well, I'm guessing the topic for today might be talking about teaching, I'm guessing. So, what do I know about teaching? The theory behind teaching: when you first start, they try to quantify it. They're going to tell you are creating nurturing environments. You're not. Well, you might be. Actually, you might be. Because most of the kids I go to are low socioeconomic status kids who come from rough backgrounds. And that's why I got into teaching, because I'm like, I came from that background too. So I wanted to, you know, help them get through the shit they're going to get through, because I've already seen it coming. I've already lived through it myself. So if I can show them there's a way out, be supportive, mainly pastoral care, mainly emotional stuff, then hopefully, you know, they could get somewhere with their life and not repeat the same shitty cycles that their parents have done, which is usually, sad to say, drug addiction, alcoholism, abuse, abandonment, and all this kind of crap. So that's kind of why I went into teaching. I also went into teaching because my parents said it was a solid job. And I'm like, fair play, because right now in the COVID pandemic and all this shit, I have not stopped working. It's been interesting. It's kind of a slap to the face of anyone who actually, wanted to start a business or anything. But it's a solid job, dude. If you want pay, it's not great pay. It could be better. It's a high stress job. I'd say a more stressful job might be like a doctor or a nurse or something like that. Paramedics or something like that. It would be way more stressful because you have to deal with all this life and death crap. Whereas I'm pretty much, at this point, just trying to keep them jogging along educationally. It's like I used to be all about, let's get them forward, let's get them learning, let's get them included into everything. But at this point, 12 years later, I'm sitting there looking at a whole bunch of shit and it's a lot more jaded than I remember. Yeah, so without trying to put a negative spin on it, I don't think they want to be here and I don't think I want to be here, but we're all here, so let's get this done. That's the sort of mindset you walk in with. The parents are a bit weird in that they're either completely absent from the process or they're all in and wanting to control the process. I have yet to find like a midpoint where the parents are just cool with you getting on with doing what you need to do, what you've been trained to do. Without sounding like an arrogant shit, I have extensive degrees in education, not only that, psychology and social sciences. So it's like when I get a parent with zero qualifications in education coming and telling me how to do my job, I do get a bit pissy. I will admit that. I'm sitting there going, look, I know it's your kid and yes, you have a vested interest, but at the same time, you have no fucking idea what you're doing. Why are you telling me what to do? I would understand if the parent was a teacher themselves. So I'd be like, okay, so that's where you're coming from. But generally, it's a question of what do you actually know? So that's one of the things. Right now, as far as I know, there's this big thing where they're saying there's not enough teachers to go around. And I'm sitting there thinking, what could be the reasons why we're losing teachers? I'm currently a relief teacher, which is a lot less stressful because I was doing extra degrees at uni trying to get stuff gone. I was trying to get out of the classroom and more into the high levels, particularly into lecturing. I really wanted to go into uni lecturing at one point. I started doing a doctorate for that after doing, 2 masters and a whole shitload of other stuff. But then whilst doing the doctorate, I'm like, I don't know if I like this level either, because this is all shit. It's like, once you've lived in the profession, you're kind of like, I don't agree with any of this. So I went back to the classroom. I just went as relief though, because I was full-time before that, and it was just way too stressful trying to keep up with, not the teaching. Teaching the kids is easy. It's the admin that goes with it. And it's the, trying to keep up with, I have to be on this committee, or I have to go and do these parent meetings, or I have to go and have a performance management meeting, or some shit like that. There's always something extra you have to do that is not inside the classroom. Hanging out with the kids, giving them the work and walking them through it is possibly the easiest part. Building inclusive programming for the diversified levels of each kid is a challenge, yes, because you're going to take into account their needs. So it's like there's different levels to it. It's like at grassroots level, you're in the classroom doing the job. Above that, you're trying to create the job you can give the kid. After that, you've got, working within the school, and then you've got working within the parents' school, or their version of it should be. And then you've got the principal, and you've got other teachers you need to compensate for, and it's the committees you have to sign up for, and you're just like, I cannot do this anymore. And I did that for like 12, I'm in for my 12th year. And right now I'm relief, and I'm liking that I can just walk in and walk the fuck out again, because it's like, it is not worth it. The only thing I would say is the bad thing about relief teaching is they see you as disposable, because you're only there for a day. They're like, install, uninstall, off you go. Whereas if you're full-time, they do tend to show you a bit more respect because they have to put up with you for the year, if it's a year, if not longer. And they actually take the time to bother, you know, building any kind of connection and stuff. Whereas relief, again, you turn up on the morning. You get a text at 6 o'clock in the morning, you turn up and then you go home. But at the same time, the bonus is you get to high-five them in the face on the way out. Because you're like, if you've had a shit day, I'm not fucking coming back to this school, am I? It's like, fuck this good. The pay's all right. Before tax, I get about $4.25. It's all right. It's not great, given my qualifications, but you know what? I'll take it. At the end of the fortnight, and I get paid fortnightly. If I've worked every day, if you can manage to get the work, I get about $3,000 after tax. So that is all right. It's a good job in that sense. I mean, I live alone. I have no kids, so I'm renting at the moment. So my bills are covered. So there's no real problem there. It's not like working at Kmart or something, which would be a fucking nightmare. I'm sorry if you work at Kmart. But it's just, at my age, it's ridiculous. And I'm sorry again if you're at my age and working at Kmart. But sorry. It's unfortunate. I'm sure there was something that happened to you that totally wasn't your fault that made you work at Kmart. Sorry. As a teacher, we have to promote accountability, but I don't know. I don't know. You made that choice. So anyway, my choice was to be, you know, repeatedly treated like crap every day by kids, staff, admin, and parents. So we all make our choices. I just happen to get paid more for it. So besides that level of stress, and besides the fact that there's things like I can't log into a computer properly using my department number because it will only give me something like 30 minutes of bandwidth time. So I repeatedly have to keep logging in or use someone else's login, or, you know, just face getting locked out of the system for, you know, mostly online activities now I need to know or use. That's a pain in the ass. It's restricted access to resources is dickish. I don't know why they've done that, but every time you try and, you know, get up there for more than half an hour, you get sent with a firewall saying you got restricted access. Meanwhile, you can use one of the kids' logins all day and no one says shit. And I'm looking at all kinds of weird stuff on there that is not kid level. I mean, it's not messed up stuff. I'm looking on YouTube basically, but that's a restricted thing in the education firewall proxy settings. Kids aren't allowed to go on there without parent consent or adult consent supervision. But you can still log in there using their login. And it's like, well, if I'm locked out, then I'll just use one of the kids' logins, or I'll just nick one of the other teachers' logins. It's stupid, limited access to resources. Admin is possibly the most annoying, because that is the first thing you see up from, is the admin people. And sometimes you get good admin, who are organised, everything's ready for you to go, you can just walk in, grab it and go. That's all your documents, whatever you need for the kids, the role, the information, the medical stuff and everything like that. You just grab it as a file, you go into the class, you get going. But when you turn up on the day and they don't know why the fuck you're there, and you look at each other like, well, you called me, what do I do? I was like, have you got your working with children check? Are you seriously, that's it? That's all you can do for me right now? I was like, have you working with children check? That's annoying, because they don't know where to put you, you don't know what you're doing, and you usually walk into your lessons late and try to make up for the time, frazzled and stressed, waiting for someone to step in and say, oh, this is what you're meant to be doing anyway. Oh, here's the daily work pad. It's like, what? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. School started at 8:40. Why are you giving this to me now? It's like, this is where you're supposed to be. And you realise 10 minutes ago you're meant to be taking the kids to music or something. You're like, you bastard. That kind of shit annoys the crap out of me. It really does. Because I'm all about the routine and organising, and I want to be there, getting it done on time, what I want to do, what I need to do. Otherwise I feel incompetent. And if I'm having to rely on some arsehole from admin doesn't know why the fuck I'm there in the first place, it annoys me. So I'm like, I know how to do my job. You arseholes haven't got a clue where I'm supposed to be or why I'm here, even though you booked me. That's an annoyance. Yeah. I wish I could avoid that, to be honest. But then again, and they get paid more than me, which I find annoying. It's like, I could do your job. Maybe that's my next move. Maybe I should get out of the classroom and just go straight up to admin. It's like, stop this. It's all filing and paperwork anyway. Come on. I could do that. Principals are painful. They are either overly friendly or they're just absent, I've found. It's like when I was in high school, our principal was never on damn site. God knows where he was. I know we had one, but the deputies ran everything. And the same with most schools I'm attending at. The deputies run everything. It's like, but they shouldn't, because where is the principal? He's supposed to be handling shit. There is this weird thing where the principals want to be your best friend, and you have no idea that they're the principal because they wander in and out of the rooms, like, and you ask the kids, who the fuck was that? Because even the kids are like, oh, that's the principal. And you go, oh, I've done that a few times. I have often mistaken the chaplain for the principal for one of the deputies, which I haven't met yet. It's really weird. You have to ask the kids, who was that? Because you're just unfamiliar with who is doing what job, because they all act and look the same and no one's taking charge, and they all just turn up. And it's like, I didn't even know that you were the so-called boss, because you're never on site and I have no idea who I'm talking to. I mean, I've been working at schools for years, the same schools, and I still haven't met the principal. And I'm like, I didn't even know you were the principal. I didn't even know you were the deputy. And who's that guy? That's a chaplain. Should he be around children? I don't know. It's really weird. Just weird stuff like that. It keeps you on your toes. You have to be ready to go. You have to be ready to adapt. Because you're going to be walking into a room for a lot of people you don't know on a daily basis. And they're just going to expect you to perform, or to act, or to know what you're doing, or to be able to just talk to people. And as an introvert, it's not exactly the best thing for me. So it's been quite stressful. You just walk in, it's like, oh, you know what you're doing? It's like, I'm trained, yes. Do I know any of you? Is this a comfortable situation? Probably not. Yeah. Why are we losing teachers? Oh, Christ, if I know, you know. Can't think. And then there was like, when COVID hit, everybody seemed to disappear, relief staff wise especially. We had a bunch of old people that just retired permanently. Because what they tend to do is they tend to have this long career in the same room, and then in retirement, they come back as relief teachers. And you sit there and think, you're supposed to be retired. This is why we can't get work, because of you guys still being here. That's what was one of the challenges right at the start. Before the pandemic, was first and second term, you couldn't get work because there was just no work, because these buggers were still staying on. Oh, I'll just retire, but then I'll also, keep doing relief afterwards. I'm sitting there thinking, you've got your house set up, you got your life set up. All you have to do is just chill for the next 10 years and then, get shipped out on an iceberg. Why are you still here? It's like, you're taking all the work up. It's typical boomers. But, you're buggers. They just grip onto things. They're like pit bulls. They won't let go. So they kept all the jobs and I couldn't get work. And of course, I'm nearly late 30s now. And I'm sitting there going, I want to get a house. I want to, get my life going. But you fuckers won't give me the fucking work. Just because you want to retire. Well, you don't even want to retire. You just want to keep the jobs. So why do you even need the jobs? Sorry, I just nearly cut someone off there. That was probably not responsible. He was going really slow. But I wanted to, when I first started, I was, 37 now? I was 25, roughly, I think. So that's ideal age to get married, you get your house together, you get your family going. I didn't want the kids, but I wanted the other stuff. I mean, long story short, I'm now divorced. And I lost my house because of my ex-husband, and that was a big story, he sent me his debt, but that's a whole different story, and I'm definitely not angry about it still. But yeah, this was the stage where I first started. I'm like, great, this is a great job, good paid job, I'll get a full-time job straight off the bat, and I'll just go for it. I'll do what they did. And they did it. And then they got the full-time jobs, they're keeping the full-time jobs. I went back to my old primary school. the teachers were still there. I went back as a prac student in my mid-20s. And then my primary school teachers were still there 20 years later. You know, you're sitting there thinking, aren't you supposed to be A, retired, or B, dead? What the fuck? It's like, how are you still alive? Are you zombies? What is this? Some kind of mummification process? I mean, what are they putting in those flu jabs every year? What the fuck? So I couldn't even get a full-time job. So I went into relief at the start. And of course, apparently that's frowned upon, because it's like, why didn't you get a full-time job at the start? Because there wasn't any fucking jobs, was there? So I had shit pay first up. I'm like, all right, so at least I'll get used to the practice of teaching, and it'll be all right. It'll be fantastic. I'll get my bearings. I'll be able to, you know, get tacit knowledge. But then the positions kept going to, it flicked. It's like they wanted graduate teachers, and I'm like, but then why can't I not get a full-time job now? Because, because you're up to date with the new information. It's like, what are you talking about? I've only been out of the uni for 5 years. Why can I not get a job? Or educate yourself who you know. Like, a few times I've been offered work because of who I know at a relief position. I'm sitting there going, well, this is just ethically wrong. It should be down to what skills you've learned or experience you've got. But there is a big thing of, I hired this person because I know them. And you sit and think, well, that's not right. Ooh, speaking of. Sorry. I'm too early for that. So I've spent a lot of the time just in small contract work, not being able to get myself established. Anyway, long tangent. When COVID hit, oh my God, still I ran on that one. All these retired teachers that came back as relief just permanently retired. They just buggered off. So it's like, okay, so sweet. Then you had a whole bunch of anti-vaxxers that didn't want to get the triple vax required for working in a school. So I'm like, all right, yep, sweet, more work there. And then you had a whole bunch of people that didn't want to risk getting COVID, even if they were vaxxed, that ditched the whole profession. So you got a shortage of teachers now, or a whole bunch of people that just skipped state for some reason, even though WO was like the easiest state to not get COVID in at the time. So it's like, nobody's sick here, all looking around going, it's coming eventually, and it did. Hilariously late compared to over east, but it's like, oh, now we exist, huh? No concerts or anything for us, but as soon as COVID hits, but it was hilarious. So there was this ton of work. It was just a complete flush of work, and I'm currently working 10 days a week before, like, every term. So the pay is good, and I'm looking at, trying to regain my, get another apartment or something like that. Better than the one I lost to my ex-husband. But it's a stressful job, and you live for the holidays, quite frankly, even as a relief teacher. And the reason you have problems as a relief teacher as well is because of the behaviour of the kids. They know that you're not full-time, they know that you're not permanent, so they're going to give you shit all day, unless you can actually build some kind of a rapport with them, or let them have their way every fucking time. And most of the time, there's no behavioural backup. There's no punishment for these guys acting like dicks. They just put it down to, oh, you're a relief. Doesn't matter, you're not full-time anyway. I have a handful of schools that I go back to because there is repercussion for these little turds. But, but generally the kids are like, and the staff are like, you're not permanent. So it's like, that's one of the reasons I would leave, is because the stress from just trying to get these guys to give basic respect. It's like, I'm not saying that you have to respect someone just because, I'm an adult, you're a kid, but at the same time, it's like basic human respect, dude. So, what did your parents teach you? How are you going to function as adults when you're just like, fuck everyone, fuck this, I don't want to. I went to school as a safe haven. I loved school, and it wasn't because I was a nerd. I kind of wasn't a nerd. I was really good at English and sciences and that, but sucked at that. But I went there because it was like a safe haven from my actual family. Like, both my parents were berserkers. So my mum was physical, my dad was just fucking crazy. But at the same time, I went to school and I loved it because no one was shouting at me, no one was hitting me. The rules were easy to follow and the consequences were weak. It's like, oh no, I have to sit on a bench at recess. Oh God, you're not going to punch me? What the fuck? I mean, the worst they could do is we're going to call your parents, and then you knew you were screwed. But, you know, it's like... But I was never a bad kid, really. I mean, I would never mouth back at a teacher. Never. Never. Oh, my God. I've had kids tell me go fuck myself before, and I'm like, dude, I'm the nice teacher. I'm the laid-back one. I will let you get away with murder as long as you're quiet about it. I had an 8-year-old who was sitting... Oh, Christ. I think he was sitting on a stack of chairs or something. I've seen it happen before where it's like a 20-stack chair or some shit like that, and they just fall and it crushes them. I've seen it before, and I went, well, I probably shouldn't let that happen again. But the screaming that went on after that. And I said, can you get off that? And he's going, go fuck yourself. And then he started ranting on about, this is racist. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. What the fuck about this is racist? And I'm like, do you want to have this conversation? Do you, you know? I'm sitting there going, it was probably not the best thing to say because it just instigated a further discussion about how I was a cunt. Excuse the French. I know that's a more obtrusive word. But these are the kids I'm working with. And I'm sitting there going, you're like 10, man. Why are you A, using these words, and being so aggressive for me, trying to stop you from hurting yourself? It's like, and that's just one instance. I've been doing this for 12 years. One of these instances pops up maybe every other day, sometimes, depending on the time of the term, every day, every couple of, minutes. You know, there's always something. So you're like, why are you so aggressively assholic? Is it because of shit that's going on at home, or is it because I'm not your full-time teacher? And it's worse is like when you get no support from the actual teacher. They'll walk into the room, like sometimes they walk in to check that everything's going all right. They'll walk in, they'll see this kid being an asshole, they'll look at you like, oh, that's your fault, you're an incompetent asshole. And then walk back out again, and you're like, I know this behavior isn't normal. Why are you allowing it? And that's crazy. So it's lack of support as well. It's like, and it's stupid though for the full-time teachers, because as soon as you start doing shit like that, it's like, we don't want to back you up. So if you need a sick day or anything like that, good luck finding someone. And I've done that with a few schools now. There's a few schools that I used to go to because it was like I was desperate for the work, and now I just like, I'm not coming back. You can take an idiot graduate teacher. I've been doing this for 12 years. I guarantee you I'm not going to enjoy that day. For several reasons, including the admin being overbearing with what they demand you do in a day. It's like, in a work day, for example, I can guarantee you as a relief teacher, because you're at 5 different schools in a week maybe, you will get duty every day. So, yeah. And you won't get dot. Dot is where the teachers supposedly, and I've done full-time myself, supposedly do all the marking and stuff. The marking and stuff can be done over the shoulder when the kids have finished their work, if you're good enough and organized enough. It's like, this time is also done for meetings. I guarantee you someone will need the meeting time, because there's always like at least 5 kids that are messed up in the head. So you're going to need to talk about them, strategize, and see what you can do about these 5 kids. But the majority of the dot I had, I didn't actually use for dot. Most of the time I was laying on the floor with the door closed, lights off, trying to get my mental shit together. That is what it is. That is burnout. That is me trying to meet the demands of admin, principals, parents, kids, other teachers judging you for not doing it their way. Marking, stress, it's just the pressure. Most of the time my feet were killing, my back was killing. I had eczema from stress, I had cold sores from stress, my body was breaking down trying to get this shit done. So most of the time, yeah, I was on my back or on a desk, on my back, just trying to get my head straight. Headaches, just bullshit like that. So that's probably why you're getting full-time teachers ditching. Relief teacher, we're ditching because you guys are assholes to us. You overload us. We get, in a typical day, I get 15 minutes to eat, piss, and get my shit together before I'm sent barreling into another class full of discipline cases who don't give a fuck about why you're there and don't want to do what you want to do anyway. 15 minutes. It's usually either 3 or 2 blocks of an hour, recess, 2 blocks, and then a 1 block after lunch. So it's like five or six blocks of different classes. And there's always, guaranteed always, at least 5 kids that are assholes. At least. What's worse is when you get one kid that leads the entire class into noise and chaos. And you're sitting there thinking, this is fucking Tuesday, man. I still got 3 more days of this shit. Would you just please sit down and shut up? Please. You're not even my kid. It's like, I don't need this. Is it worth the pay? And you start reevaluating. It's like, how bad do I need food? How bad? How much do I need heat and electricity? It's a team effort of parents either telling their kids that they're awesome all the fucking time and they don't have to listen to anyone else because they know what they're doing and they're just so fucking wonderful. With parents who just don't give a shit and will not support the kids, so the kids are seeking attention and everything from you, even though you're like, okay, you need to stand on your own 2 feet because I'm not always going to be here. You need to handle your own shit. It's like, and you're draining the life out of me. So it's crazy. It's a weird job where you become a surrogate parent. And not only that, it's like as a job, you're also, I mean, we have things like breakfast clubs. We bring in our own fruit from Crunch and Sip and stuff like that for the kids. We bring in snacks and food for like reward days and all kinds of things like that. My mum's a teacher. She's been paying out for jumpers and hats and things for other people's kids just because the parents won't buy them for them. So you're seeing this little tiny sparrow of a kid in winter freezing their bollocks off. And the parents are like, he's fine. I'm sitting there looking at you, are a cruel bastard. And my mum, who was a berserker when I was growing up, physically abusive, all the abuses except sexual, I should think, is looking at this kid and is willing to look after this kid just because the other parents are assholes. And you sit there and think, why do these people have kids? Why are they allowed to have kids? Why is DCP not doing anything about this? And it's that kind of mental messed up as well. I've had meth heads drop kids off at the door and fuck off to go and buy drugs. And you know they're doing it because they're itching for it. You can see them physically itching to go get a hit. And you're like, you're just dumping your kid to get it babysat while you go and buy something from down the street or some shit like that. And I'm going, why is DCP not stepped in for this? Or the parents turn up visibly drunk. Or you've heard stories from the kid about how they've sexually done stuff to them. And you sit there and think, I'm handing this kid back to a pedophile or a junkie or an alcoholic. Someone who shouldn't have kids, and DCP has done nothing about it. Or everyone here knows this kid's story and no one's doing anything about it. And so become really jaded about the profession. You're like, we're here to protect. At the moment, we're providing for the kids. We're doing everything to keep these kids pumping along, trying to get them out of the circumstances they're in. And you just become so fucking jaded about it. And you're like, is it worth the paycheck? Is it worth the mental stress? I mean, we all started because we wanted to create these like nurturing environments for these kids. But by the end of it, it starts impacting on you. And you're like, I've come from this background. I don't know if I can still stay in it, you know, with this kid and still keep going. So it's messed up. And you're sitting there looking at your paycheck and you're going, is it worth it? Is it just abusing myself at the same time? I mean, I don't know what it's like in the richer schools. I've always aimed for like the lower schools because this is where I came from. This is my background. This is the way I was raised, is to maybe develop survival tactics, essentially. And my legacy will be to, I don't know, pass these on to these kids. If I can, if I'm not full of my own shit and I leave, rage quit the entire job. It's like, I want them to survive. I want them to get out of this shit. I don't know how long much more I can stay in this job because it's doing my head in. But I've been doing it for 12 years and, you know, one of the payoffs is when one of the kids comes back as an adult and they've got their own kids and they're like, this is my kid. And you're like, okay, no. And that's happened before. I'm like, I've been teaching 12 years. My first year out, I was teaching year sixes. I mean, I don't know, low SES girls in particular have kids early. Real early sometimes. And you're like, I don't even know that was possible. There is over here, where I was raised, there is a big culture of girls getting pregnant early to either claim benefit or to hook a guy in. And it never works because the guy always bolts, but you know, they assume it's like they haven't learned from their parents that this shit doesn't work. But there is a lot of that. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, I can't believe I'm seeing you again. I mean, year sixes were 12 when I taught them. And then they come back at, what was this, 24 now, and they've got their own kid. And it's 5 years old, and you're going, oh, I just had this kid at 19. It's like, okay. Wow, that's pretty intense, but okay. And he's looking at it going, it's like a little carbon copy of you. Crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy profession. Well, I am sorry. I am going to have to cut that short there. I mean, there is a lot of insight. If you wanted to go and look and research into teaching, go and look at it at grass levels. Don't rely on craptacular stories about how fucking fabulous it is on the internet and oh, how so enriching and how wonderful it is. Go and actually go to a school, particularly in the shit areas, and find the reality of it. Don't just take it for granted. I would rather you actually see it at grassroots level. Maybe not live it because it's a bit crap, but to understand what teachers are having to go through, go and have a look at it yourself. Be there and actually experience it. Don't just take someone's word for it. I hate it when these famous people go up and they're saying, oh, we've got to really appreciate what teachers are doing for us. They're doing so much. But they'll never actually live the experience. They'll just assume that, oh, everyone's going to, you know, clap their hands and light a fucking candle. And, you know, it's not the same. It's like, if you want to understand it, if you want to make it easier, go and actually look at what they're doing physically. Don't just take their word for it. Because all these celebrities see is like a polished version of what the reality is. You're not actually seeing it, the real version of it. It's stupid. So I don't know, it sounds incredibly cynical. Maybe after 12 years I'm a bit jaded. But I would rather it be real than fabricated. I'd rather it be real than, you know, just perpetuating some pipe dream of what it should be or what it could be. I mean, after this long, I've had a real experience about what teaching and education actually is. And to be honest, it's a fuck fight. It's not a great thing. I'm tired of people saying, oh, if we just change the curriculum, it'll be all right. If we just throw more money at it, it'll be all right. If we introduce new technology, it'll be fine. It's like, it's not. Now you've just increased the stress load. The money never compensates for it. And the kids are still being assholes and the admin's still useless. It's like now everybody's even more confused because you want it to look good. By changing things. Stop changing things. Let's just get a grasp of what we're doing now. So yeah, if I don't get, you know, kicked out of a school before now, or have to be forced to quit my job or lose my mind completely, I might be leaving teaching, hopefully, sooner or later. I suppose the thing to take away from this is be mindful of what's really happening. Don't just assume you know what you're doing or what you're seeing is truth. Because until you've actually lived it and you know the tacit knowledge of the situation, then you're not going to have a depth of understanding what it could be and what people actually face in a day. So there's your insight into teaching. I mean, it sounded a bit bitchy and horrible and there was a lot of swearing, I know that much, but that's a 45-minute drive as far as I can see. And that's your first chatting. Oh, it's a 40-minute drive. Okay. I must have been speeding. Oh well. That's Chatting in Cars with Charlotte. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. There's a lot of swearing. I'm so sorry. Where am I? Do I want authenticity? I'm about to walk into my classroom on the first day back of term. Wish me luck. I hope you all have a good day and try and keep calm and appreciate what you actually have so you don't get screamed at. And I'm sorry if you work at Kmart. I really am. Although we all make our choices. I'll see you later. Bye.